Inflation didn't break your budget, not directly. What actually broke it is that your spending system was quietly repriced, and inflation is just the label we use to describe the outcome. That's why, even when inflation slows or stops rising, life doesn't suddenly feel affordable again. Because the damage isn't just higher prices. It's the way those higher prices change how everything works underneath. Most budgets don't operate on constant calculation. They run on defaults. Familiar shops, familiar purchases, familiar numbers that feel normal enough not to question. You don't actively decide every expense. You rely on routine. Inflation breaks those routines. When prices rise gradually, nothing collapses all at once. Instead, small thresholds are crossed. Something feels a bit expensive, so you hesitate. Then the alternative rises too. Then you quietly drop both and tell yourself you're cutting back. But what's really happening is that your spending pattern is being rewritten by the price environment, not by choice. That's why budgets feel broken even when the maths technically still works. The pressure doesn't come from one big increase. It comes from having to reevaluate everything, all the time. A stable budget is boring. You roughly know what things cost, and your brain doesn't have to renegotiate every purchase. Inflation turns everyday spending into constant decision-making. That's the part people underestimate. There's also a deeper effect that inflation has, beyond the numbers. It destroys price reliability. When prices stop being reliable, memory stops helping. You can't trust your sense of normal anymore. You check more often. You compare more. You hesitate more. And because this happens across food, transport, utilities, subscriptions, and everyday extras, the mental load builds quickly. Money feels tighter not just because you spend more, but because managing spending takes more effort. Your budget used to act like a map. Inflation turns it into weather. And when you're living in weather, you stop planning far ahead. You manage moment by moment. There's another quiet shift that happens at the same time. When prices rise and demand doesn't collapse, new boundaries are learned. What once felt high becomes acceptable. Temporary increases become permanent reference points. So when inflation slows, the speed changes, but the new price levels remain. That's why cutting back rarely brings relief. It doesn't restore the old baseline. It only stabilizes the new one. This is why people say they earn more but feel worse off. Income tends to rise in straight lines. Living costs rise in uneven, layered ways, and that unevenness is what erodes the feeling of control. Inflation didn't break your budget. The constant resetting of what feels normal did. And once you see it that way, the experience starts to make sense.